I was asked by Amanda and Penny just to share our experiences of how we use the data that's now there with our farmers and how we as vets could add value to them. So if you haven't checked out this website organisation, Health for Animals, before, I'd really encourage you to. There's some awesome information in there. Sort of quite nicely summarises what we've sort of talked about, where we've got the raw data, the collection of it, the analysis of it, and then it's the application of it. And I think this is perhaps the space where vets can get really involved with, because we still need to apply interpretation and application of the data, and so that's sort of where we've seen that we might be coming in handy. So this is what it could very well end up looking like in a lot of our sheds. So I've got quite a few farmers with a Delaval computer and an Allflex computer and a Minder computer, and it just all sort of jammed in their room. And I just posed the question, do the farmers actually have time, or in some cases the ability, to get the full benefit from the information? And where do we as vets fit in? So according to my team, we fit in with hacking. So I was given, because I don't do much carvings myself anymore, I got given the Hacker Award for repeatedly violating pharmacists' privacy and leaking their information by going into their systems the whole time. But what I would really encourage you to do is just really embrace it. So Austin put a slide up this morning of roughly that 9%, was that correct, Mark, with collars? So in the cows that we service, we're now at 40% of cows with some sort of wearable on them. Okay, so in our sort of business, we're well past that sort of tipping point where we just need to get into it. So as a team, we sort of have a yearly strategic meeting, and we identified getting into this space as a new area of major focus. We had really good demand from farmers wanting more intensive monitoring from us. We did have the buy-in from the whole vet team, and there was the potential for new revenue for the clinic as well. And this is probably where I would encourage you to start, is actually just sitting down and asking the farmer, what can we help you with? As you know, they're quite busy people, especially around calving time, when a lot of this data can come in really handy. And so we literally just asked them, what can we help you with? And they sort of came up with that they wanted us to go in the portal as another sort of finger on the pulse, just to make sure that things are going good, and at a herd and individual cow level. And some of them did want to tie that in with us coming on farm sort of once a week to actually look at some of these health index alert animals. And with some of these herds, there were 80 animals on a health index alert at some time. So, if we can get in there and help the farmer sort through those as well, that's another potential area of benefit. And also just upskilling the farm staff. So even just as basic as, okay, you've got a health index alert now, what do you do? Instead of just reaching for a particular drug. So we needed some upskilling as well. We definitely identified that. And we had some really good training sessions with Steph and Amanda, and sorry, but it's not quite as exciting as getting trained with our new dart gun. Sort of really good modules as reference. There's lots of good literature reviews and papers on it. But really it's just getting in the system and just having a play around, and I don't believe I had to ring either of you to say I've majorly screwed something up in the farmer's computer, so that was quite a good start. But this was another thing that really became apparent quite quickly, is that instead of just one person doing it alongside another person if you can, it just really multiplies the value that you can get. So this is sort of what we ended up doing. You're literally just in the office with a colleague in front of your computer. You might have Excel if you want to get some fancy stuff going. You've got you're in the farmer system, and you've just got all your prompts, and you're sort of just feeding off each other and sharing ideas and just really trying to add value to the farmer. So these are sort of the people that were involved in this scenario. So the lovely big ginger man, he's Bradley, he's one of our dairy farmers, and he took that picture whilst he was recording for us on the iPad pre-testing, and he went out and took a selfie of himself in the yard whilst getting the next row in, and then proceeded to put it on my home screen, which of course I was very thrilled about because he's a magnificent specimen. And then we've got our MSD team helping us out. We've got Laura, in this case, who's the nutritionist for the farm. And then we've got the two veterinaries, and our technician Kelly thought it was quite amusing to point out to me how much shorter I was than Tristan on my stilts. So how do we all work around? And I'd sort of say to you, look, the vet really can be the key link between the farmer, in this case the nutritionist, and the MSD team, because we've just got a really unique positioning in the space and access to the data. So I'd sort of encourage you to think that you can play a really important key link in this process. And just want to emphasise this again, like even you would have seen Jevon in that picture. When I was sitting down with him, I was going off as I usually do, and then he just came up with something, and it's not just 1 alongside 1 equals 2, it's like just exponential 1 alongside 1 equals 11 is what you can do when there's teamwork involved, and you really do it for the benefit of all. So so as you'll see, we worked with external nutritionists around the farmer, and I sort of asked them at the end of this process, what did you really enjoy out of this process? So this first one, I'll give you a couple of seconds just to read it, and then I'll sort of highlight the key words that stood out for us. What really stood out to me was value, clients first, we're all working towards a common goal. There's more opportunity, better outcomes, and the farmer feels well supported, and I think that's really what it's about at the end of the day. So the next one is from our second nutritionist that we worked with, and it's really much along the same lines where, she thought that we gave an excellent non-subjective overview of how well their advice was being applied on the farm. They were excited to work with us, and we were working together for the mutual benefit of the farmer. Like, I just think that's the real key part that I found in this whole process. So I'll give you a quick couple of examples of what are some of the things we found, and Ryan will expand a lot more on this after lunch. But I'll give you a couple of cases of what we found. So this is a low rumination case post-calving, and we've just got one of the first milking mobs, and we've got rumination time on the left there and average days of milk. And the farmer in this case opted for twice a day milking of all animals straight after calving. It was mostly heifers calved at this point in time. Pre-calving rumination average was about 450. These were quite big Holstein things, so I think you can see where this is going. High percentage of health index alerts, and a high percentage of low ruminators in animals more than 7 days calved. And so when we did one of our weekly checks, we took some bloods of some of these health index animals, and then we're like, oh, better go check the rest of the herd at the afternoon milking, and this is what we found. So, really the only indication, to me anyway, was that there was low rumination and health index alerts. And this farmer was already putting monensin and bypass fats in the feeding system. So, I just didn't think that we would get onto it that quickly without the alerts giving us the information that we needed. Second case was just a sudden drop in rumination time. So this was from the nutritionist Laura, and she asked us just to give some feedback, because from her looking into the bulk milk tank fat percentage, she wanted to know around this area in mid-August what the rumination times did. So we sort of had quite issues with low protein percentages in pastures. She sort of did her diet check thingy, and sort of borderline fibre, and the the chews per cud were quite low. The diet that she had currently at the going was mostly pasture, a bit of barley, in-shed blend, which was soybean hulls and meal with DDG, and a bit of silage and molasses. And so what we did was sort of combine that bulk milk fat percentage, which is on this axis here as a trend line, against the rumination times, and then that period that she was really interested in, we can see this quite marked drop in the rumination time. So, from her sort of interpretation of that it was a possible subclinical acidosis event. And then they sort of had various actions that they could undertake, such as feeding more fibre, or when they feed stuff, which is, that's Laura's department, not me, but we sort of helped in giving her the information that she needs. So just a couple of little cases of what we sort of found throughout the springtime. Really just want to sort of emphasise to you about value creation and value capture, and sort of at an individual level, not only for us vets, because it gave the vet team a real sort of satisfaction that they were adding value to the farmers. The farmers really enjoyed getting that finger on the pulse. I think there was real creation for the organisations, which in this case is our vet clinic, the farmers' businesses, and hopefully for the MSD crew as well. And really sort of want to talk about what I call a network effect, which I'll touch on in the next slide. But it was really not only creating that value but capturing it. So for example, for the firm, which was our vet clinic, it was a busy spring to begin with, but we had significantly higher vet service fee incomes, from doing this work, and all the sort of spill-on benefits of on-farm visits and all that. So if we sort of look at what I would sort of interpret as a network effect, in this case we've got the platform, which is the Elite portal. We've got vets on there, and we've got farmers on there, and the first sort of one is a cross-site effect where the vet is adding value to the farmer animals business, and obviously the farmer's creating value for the vet clinic in terms of generating new income. We've got same side effects, so what we really noticed is that the farmers in this sort of group really started sharing ideas, and my rumination rate's this low, what are you doing? And they really started chatting amongst themselves. And I think there's also real same side benefits on the vet side. So, Austin sort of this morning asked the question, where do we see ourselves fit in? And I'd sort of answer a question with a question, which I know is really annoying. But, what if you think about technology, not just in our space, but just in general, what do you think employees fear the most about technology? Anyone want to venture a guess?
Being replaced by it.
Yeah, sort of that slide towards irrelevance, right? So in this case, the collars are actually now doing better diagnostics. So now we've sort of got to think, where do we fit in? And it's that real application and interpretation of that data is how I would see us adding value to the farmer. And I think there's also these sort of spillover benefits. So I've shown you the examples of those third-party nutritionists that we worked off. And if we get enough collars on animals and we get enough people, vets and farmers involved, there could be, for New Zealand Inc. as such, better animal welfare, and that's sort of all part of our story. So yeah, really just want to emphasise this again. It was just real pleasure to work with people that we may not have worked as well together previously for the benefit of the farmer. And it is 12:07 for lunch. Thanks so much.